Welcome to part 2 of May the Force, or could we say May the Rock be with you. It's our monthly... What? I thought it was a great cliche segue. So this is our second half of our brand new albums review, and in the form of a festival where we have the headline acts and we have the beginning acts and right the way through the festival, and then we give our personal ratings, and these are our personal ratings. Okay, we're not rating them on how commercial they are. It's how much we personally enjoy these albums, and if as a group we manage somehow to all connect, and that album gets a rating of more than average of 4, it goes into our Hall of Fame, of which I think we've reviewed some between 70 and 80 albums. Only six albums have ever reached that. And if I'm clever enough with my video editing, I'll end up putting them at the bottom at some point of what we're reviewing. How exciting will that be? But that could be episodes away yet. So, welcome to today's panelists, minus one, who will be joining us a little bit later. Welcome to the stage panel, Nate.
Hey, what's up?
What's up?
How's it going?
And welcome to our rock chick, Trish.
Hey.
And welcome the one and only power metal connoisseur, William Hall.
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
You right?
Now we are missing Ian.
I just got welcome Nate, by the way.
I know. Well, actually, I'm going to come back to you, Nate, because I want to show out. We're going to show how diverse and how amazing this place is. Because Nate, you are currently sat in a van in the north of Wales, and I want you to pan that camera around for our people to see. I mean, we're talking about rock, and you are living in a beautiful, well, not living, but you're in holidays in a beautiful part of the world. And how amazing is, we just commented the fact that we think Nate's connection is better up there than he has at his home. So
I have had to, usually at home I just roll out of bed and you can put up with it. Today I've actually gone searching for the best signal.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're missing Ian Slasher whatever was going to show up. He's unfortunately been stuck, but he will hopefully join us at some point during the show, and that's always entertaining. So even if we get him for 20 minutes, it will be worth it. So today's lineup, well, we have something a little bit unique in our first one, which is Bone Driver. Now, Bone Driver were our first submission. They were a band that I said, would you please review our album? My gosh, is the word of the MPJ, got that wrong, my own show, rock show getting out there that people have submitted to us. So what I decided to do, and I thought it'd be interesting, is that both panels will review Bone Driver, and it'd be interesting to see kind of how they compare. And then we have Monuments with their new album In Stasis, and then we have the power metal band Dream Tale with Everlasting Flame, Dare, Road to Eden, Thunder, Dopamine, and when we get to that, me and Trish have got some exciting news because we saw Thunder last night at the Wembley Arena, and then we have Fozzy with their album BoomBox, the legends that are Bloc Party with Alpha Games, and then the even greater legends Papa Roach with Ego Trip. Now it'd be interesting because we were talking about how our headline acts never fare anywhere near as good as what we would hope to be, and maybe that's because expectations are super high, but at some point in the shows I'm going to have a look to see which has been our best headline act, but by far very few make it into our Hall of Fame. So let's crack on, people, with a Bone Driver and their album Valley of the Bones, which was I believe their second album, and this was a submission by a guy called Metal Mark from one of the forums that I was on. So, Will, let's start with you. What did Bone Driver and Valley of the Bones tick any of your bones, your musical bones?
I have no idea what it means. I don't know who's ticking my bones. However,
hopefully it'll be Bone Driver.
Is it crossing your bones?
I mean, it was pretty good. I actually really enjoyed it. It was it was right up my street for my kind of music. It had the really heavy instrumentals, quite. The vocals to me weren't quite there with it. I don't think it sort of matched the kind of sound that it had with the guitar drums, but it was, for me, a very, very good album, and it's something I'm definitely gonna actually probably listen to again. I've got it saved on my Spotify as one of the few albums I actually have downloaded on there now. It was really good, just a proper solid, good sort of hard rock kind of thing. Good.
Cool. Nate, how about
Hello.
you?
Hello.
Did Bone Driver? Did you want to go to the Valley of the Bones? Did
Right,
it take you?
to be clear, I have a history of annoying people on this podcast. So this has been submitted to us by the band, has it?
It has.
Okay. Hello, band.
That's it.
Hello. I'm really It was cool. It was fine. It reminded me a lot. The guitars reminded me an awful lot of sort of Pantera meets Black Album, Metallica. Got a big Wolf of Beast and Man vibes. Country. Now, the sort of southern style of vocals, I think were cool, and it is what you need for that kind of thing. But just dynamically, in the choruses, I would have liked it kicked up to another level. I don't know about the guy's range. You got a great voice, by the way, mate. You got a lovely twang too. But in the choruses, I'm a big fan of ramping it up, or lessening it a little bit in the verses. So I just wanted it to take me somewhere else. It wasn't good driving song though. Good driving album.
Yeah. Trish, rock chick Trish. I thought I'd save the best for last for Bone Driver because I kind of find a feeling where this might end up.
Wow, I might surprise you.
You might. Unlikely, but you might.
Okay, it's a good rock album, but lyrically, they're a bit hit and miss, like Cock in a Hen House. But you can't help but like the song because the music brings it together. Musically, it does hit the right spots, but sometimes it's a bit hard, stroke, loud rock for me. Definitely a band to look out for in the future once they find their direction.
Yeah, I give my kind of in-depth review on part one, but a couple of things actually resonated with you, Nate. I found the choruses and backup songs to be. I don't know what's the right term. I made up the tune myself, but it's called this kind of, for me anyway, like this echoing backup vocals, which was a bit old school for me, like Valley of the Bones, and I think they could have done a lot more to that for me as well. It was a good album. There was some. I like my innuendo, my rock a little bit more subtle than Cock in a Hen House. Really, it was a bit like, custard pie in your face for me, and I like mine because you all guys, I do like a little bit of innuendo, but I like it a little bit more subtle than say that. But yeah, so there was a few things that mostly brilliant. Good driving. I think you're right. Good driving album as well. Good stuff. It was quite interesting in terms of the direction. I agree with you there, Trish, because their first album was like, I agree with the sort of influence they have, and then the second song felt more like Bryan Adamsy, so it did vary quite a lot, and then things like Cock in a Hen House felt a bit more like AC/DC type of thing. So it was a little bit mixture in that one, but overall it was solid. It was a solidly good fun album, and I did enjoy it without loving it, if that makes sense. So
Can I just say something about wah pedals?
What? Sorry, Wild Pedals.
Wah pedals.
What's that?
So a wah pedal.
But they're music thing, aren't they?
They are a music thing.
Okay, go on, Muso. Go on, Muso.
Sorry, right. So a wah pedal is often used. Think about Voodoo Child by Jimi Hendrix. Wow, 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 wow. That's a wah pedal. For me, the first song on your album, if you're a band, there's a steam train going by. I apologise.
Oh no, that's cool.
Lovely.
The first song on your album, if you can solo, and these guys clearly can, I was taught, right or wrongly, you should be able to sing along to solos. Yeah, that's what gets a good solo stuck in your head. Sweet Child of Mine, painful though it is, everybody knows that solo. Same with, Hotel California, stuff like that. The wah pedal occasionally makes it muddy. I would have liked to hear these guys roll off a bit on the wah pedal, especially in that first song. I think it's the first song. I really apologise for not. Because it's there. You don't need the wah, mate. You don't need the wah. Chill out. You've got the chops.
Yeah. I think that they need a bit of fine tuning, but I think there's a possibility of something special coming out from them. But anyway, let's crack on. So, Will, give us your personal rating, my friend.
I'd go 3.5.
3.5. Okay. Nate?
Right in the middle for me, 2.5.
Is that a normal in the middle or a Trish in the middle?
No, the real middle.
Oh, the real middle. Okay, 2.5. Trish?
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. Oh, Trish.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Right in Trish's
Right,
middle.
Trish in the middle. It got a 3 out of me as well. Now, interesting in terms of our overall rating, we're going to go with whoever give it the highest of the two, and actually not too bad. The other stage give a lot of 3.5s and stuff. So so I think it's about right. So anyway, let's kick on with the next album, which is Monuments and In Stasis. Now, this is one band you wanted us to listen to. You asked us to put this on the list, and fair enough. Yeah, it was it was a brand new release, and it's a rock band, and it's called Monuments in Stasis. So Nate, we would start with you. What
can I go last and tell you why you're all wrong?
No, Nate. No, that's not how this works, Nate. This is not how my show works.
All right. I love Monuments. They are pushing the genre of metal.
Which type of genre of metal?
Well, they're prog, aren't they? They're progressive metal usually, or gent, if you want to. Although this album was a lot less genty. Is that a thing you can say? Gent is technically based, big grooves and odd time signatures and odd quirks. It is usually categorized by the music and the rhythm, the harmony and the rhythm, much more so than the vocals. But you will often find screamy, and mixed with often. So, with Monuments, definitely, but also they bring in orchestral, bits and bobs. It makes for an experience live because they're all playing to, as I point to my bloody hair, they're all playing with earpieces so that they're all playing to the same sort of soundtrack. I loved this album, and I didn't think I would because it's not their last singer. Who I adored, Chris Barretto, sorry, he was amazing. This guy, Andy, the new vocals, and I know we're going to talk about vocals a lot, not that I want to talk about the music, but I thought he's got a great range, great pitch, brutal scream, which I do like a bit of, and this is what metal is now. In my opinion, it is everything else. Heavy metal is not technically anywhere near what these guys are doing. Specifically, drum and actually bollocks, all of it. They are beyond musical approach, in my opinion.
Okay, beyond musical approach. Well, let's go to an old school musical approach. For we, Trish, what did you think of Monuments? Was this your cup of tea, Trish?
I'm afraid my review is going to be really short, and I'm really sorry, mate.
That's cool.
Screaming, shouting, my ears are bleeding. With a bit of akin to Linkin Park vocals, might be its only saving grace.
Nothing about the music there.
Oh! Now we are being joined. Will it be Slasher? Will it be Ian? But we are being joined by our fifth member of the panel. hold on 1 second. Let's get him in.
Anticipation is
there
killing
he goes. It's a bald version of Slasher. It's Ian.
Morning, Ian.
Good morning. Sorry I'm running so late.
Welcome to the show.
Bloody hell.
Thank you so much.
I like your hair.
Have you not seen that?
No,
Oh,
that's fantastic, mate.
So, Ian, we are literally in the process, halfway through reviewing Monuments in Stasis, and we'll come back to Bone Driver at the end, and we'll get your views on Bone Driver at the end, but we're in the middle. So Will, let's talk about Monuments and in Stasis. What did you think of it?
It was fantastic.
Okay.
I loved every second of this. Again, I love Screamo so much, and it's fantastic. It does the one thing I really like, where the songs go from clean vocals to Screamo to emphasize what the instrumentals are doing at the time as well.
Dynamics. Yes, Will.
The one thing that I really, really liked is two of the songs, Cardinal Red and False Providence, have Mick Gordon featured it, who is a beautiful, beautiful man. He wrote and did all the soundtrack for the new Doom game.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to say Dune by accident. That would be bad. That's nothing like Dune. Yeah, he did the soundtrack for Doom, which is beautiful, heavy. Everything about this album was beautiful to me. I love it. Screamo is perfection. There's nothing bad about this stuff. Great. It just makes you feel so powerful.
Cool.
Yeah,
like,
Well, it makes you feel something. But how did it make you feel, Ian? Was this your? Because I find a feeling this panel might be a little bit split on this one. But what did you think?
You know me quite well, Nigel. It wasn't my cup of tea at all, and I did struggle to listen to it because it just wasn't to my taste. There was too much screamo in it. But Will, you made a really good point there with the split of the clean vocals and the screamo, and I liked the blend. I just wasn't a fan of the screamo. So I struggled to listen to the album, but I kind of enjoyed. I liked parts of it at the same time.
Interesting. Okay, Nate, you did a poem last time on Sabaton.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd return the favour for you, because I wrote a little poem about this one.
Cool.
Actually,
Lay it on me.
It's nowhere near as grand as yours, I've got to say. But here's my little ode.
That goes without saying.
Well, of
doesn't
course
it?
not.
excited, look at
Of
him.
course not. But here's my little ode to this album. In stasis, the monuments rise into the musical night, rising higher with screamo delight. Their screeching vocals echo sounds of malice and spite. Enjoy or grimace with fright. However, I can only sit here feeling contrite, because in my musical world, to me, this was a pile of shite.
I think the first half of that was a pretty good compliment on it all.
I know, right?
Yeah,
There we go.
yeah.
It was how I felt. I just couldn't. I mean, this is the first album in the 70-odd albums that I've reviewed that I simply couldn't get past the first 2 or 3 tracks, and I tried, and there was moments where I get to the musical interludes, but I just couldn't. It was just made my ears bleed. I absolutely hate it. It's really not my cup of tea. And if this is, in your words, the words of the future of heavy metal, then I'm going to be stuck in the past, because I just can't deal with it. And by the way, and for the record, there are certain albums, and we'll reveal, Big Papa Roach later, where if and I was listening to an Amaranth tune where the screamos were maybe about 10 or 15% of the actual album,
Yeah.
and I think if it enhances and accentuates on that sort of level, I can kind of cope with it. And there's some moments there, but for this, no, not my cup of tea at all. So couldn't handle it. Could not handle it. Sorry.
Need a new Amaranth album to come out now, don't we then?
No. Well, it was we play a song contest, and someone put an Amaranth. I'll tell you which one it was, but I really liked it. So it was a bit of blend for everything. But yes. So anyway, well, I think the panel could be well split on this one. Let's get our ratings for In Stasis and Monuments Day. So yeah, let's start with you then, Nate.
Yeah, 4.5.
4.5. I think that might be your highest ever rating, Nate. But there we go. So,
I think with him putting a
Trish.
nice, he likes him.
1 out of 5.
1 out of 5. Ian.
I gave it 1.5 out of 5.
Will.
Purely based on taste.
I'm gonna go full on 5. Why not?
5!
It was great.
Golden buzzer!
He likes it more than I do.
He loved it. He loved it. It's my first ever full fat 0.
Wow.
Sorry. I mean, if I can't listen to an album, I can't rate it.
I've achieved my goal.
Yeah, no,
I don't.
You did, but
I
thanks.
don't need to be here anymore.
You can quit
I
the show.
think I'm done.
Well, interestingly, that scored 9.5, 10, 11, 12. Interestingly, by the way, that overall it scored higher than the Red Hot Chili Peppers. There we go. So,
As it
so
should be.
kind of hope for it. Okay, Dream Tale, Everlasting Flame. So this is a well, let's find out from our resident power metal fans. So let's go, Will. Will, what did you think of Dream Tale and An Everlasting Flame? Is this your cup of tea?
So obviously, I listen to an upsetting amount of power metal. It's it's quite unhealthy the amount I'm listening to it, to be honest. Although for me, it's not. It was good, but it wasn't sort of great. It's because I've been listening to a lot of different really good power metal artists recently. That's kind of sort of dropped my feeling down on it. Because if it was just, a normal week where it's been a lot of other stuff, it would be quite high. But it was good, energetic, always cool, powerful vocals. Yeah, The Glory. I thought that was a very cool song. I liked that. But it's just average, above average power metal, which obviously, still means it's better than most music, but
Obviously not monuments, but there we go. So Ian, what Dream Tale, and did the Everlasting Flame like your musical flame? I keep it the same, people.
I like to try and find a genre of power metal, and I class this one as power symphonic metal. And if you know me at all, you know I love my symphonics and my harmonics. So this one was an absolute finished delight. Everything about it, I absolutely loved. It was diverse, spectacular, and truly emotive are the 3 words I put down to describe, or 3 phrases to describe it. I thought that they displayed really good technical ability and consistency through the various parts. For example, the keyboards, and with power metal, keyboards are such a huge part of it, if not the most obvious sounding part. And that was particularly displayed in Immortal Souls. That the keyboard working on that is fantastic. I think Nita, I think that's how you pronounce her name. I just listening to those vocals were amazing. And I went on their Facebook and just put a little comment saying so, and she actually replied and said, "Really appreciate it, thanks ever so much," which was lovely. And that was her operatic vocals, particularly in Ghost Ride, was brilliant. But for me, it was their storytelling, and that really came out in Lady Dragon. My only criticism is I wish Lady Dragon had an ending. It kind of just went, this is the story, and this is what happened, and that's how it's going to remain. And that was the only thing that really sort of let the album down in any way. But absolutely loved it.
Let's go to somebody who I feel might not love it. Nathan.
Hello. Right, to be clear, this band didn't submit it, did they?
You want to say no?
We don't know these guys.
No.
No, cool. They should all be round up and shot.
Wow.
Why, Nate?
never change, Nathan.
Say it how it is.
No, obviously they shouldn't. Obviously they shouldn't. That's a horrible thing to say on the internet.
Musically, you mean? Musically, they should be shot musically. They should be put out of their misery.
Yeah, no, I'm a hippie. Like I wouldn't want violence against anyone. No, but it's, you know, it is it's Warhammer twattery, isn't it? And that sort of fine. Like fine. It's not. It's so not for me, and it keeps cropping up. And I listened to this on my way to Wales. It was about 400 miles. I didn't keep listening to it, obviously, because I'd have driven the car off the cliff. But I was talking to my missus, and I was going like, okay, I need to get over this, because I'm a person with a bloody music degree, and I come on and I have a go at you for like, you can't see past the screaming to the brilliance of what is essentially modern day classical composing, but we can't get past the screaming. So surely I should be able to get past the sort of cringe, we're going on a goblin hunt lyrical content. Because I listened to emo, I listened to you know, terribly cringy stuff, and my missus helped me figure this out. I grew up.
Well, let's talk about growing up. Trish, you've never grown up, obviously, but what did Dreamtale do for you?
Thanks for that. I would take that as a compliment that it's intended.
It's definitely a compliment, right?
What, that I've not grown up? Like Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Okay, so fast double drumming and guitar riffs are there. The songs flow with mind-blowing speed with catchy choruses. I found them quite similar to Battle Beast, which I fell in love with, and I've fallen in love with Dreamtale, Finnish power metal at its best. This hits all my sweet spots. For me, favourite tracks were Eye for an Eye and Lady Dragon.
Cool. Okay. Right, well, not my mouse, apologies for that one. So, who am I going to agree with? Well, I'm going to agree with Nathan. Because...
First time ever.
Honestly, in terms of power metal world, for me, power metal should take you to a place. It should take you to a story. It should take you to a world that you want to enjoy. And right from the word go, for me, with her growling vocals, for me, this is how I can imagine. And I would laugh when you mentioned about goblins, because that, for me, I felt that this was a... Go for Lord of the Rings, right? And this is like the king under the Goblin Mountain rolls out his Goblin rock band, okay, and to play like and tortures like the Lord of the Rings party with his rock band. And every now and again, he rolls out an elven princess who sings our heart out and is absolutely glorious. But you feel like she's like this Goblin kid because I don't understand it. You know, the vocals at the beginning was like, it was just like she was growling, and I was going, what? Well, hold on. What is this? I mean, to be honest with you, it just, for me, didn't conjure a story. It didn't conjure an image. I think the music was all over the place. Yes, some of the lyrics, some of the operatic lyrics was amazing. But if you want to go symphonic kind of orchestra, we reviewed a band. Well, first of all, there was Camelot, and we reviewed a couple of bands yesterday. Lords of the Trident, which was just kind of amazing, and New Horizon. Honestly, Dreamtale, not a patch, and I agree to a degree with Will. You know, it was average at best. Some of the lyricism, and some of the vocals were, you know, there were moments of pure magic, but that magic was every now and again wasn't good enough for me. It wasn't Gandalf magic, that's for sure. On that score, for me, no, not for a pound. No, it does kind of torch the likes of Battle Beast, and not even close. Wow,
so. that's the craziest insult I've ever heard. Not even as good as Battle Beast. Shit. Maybe do something else. It was Call and Response, that first song, right? In that there's a male vocal, and then it's like jumping between the two. And I like your analogy of just like occasionally this princess sort of jumps out the cupboard and is screamed back into it by a goblin.
Totally. But yeah.
I can remember hearing this when I watched The Hobbit now when they're in Goblin Town.
Yeah,
actually, if you listen carefully enough, it's what he's actually singing.
I think you guys also didn't really kind of get to. There was quite a few power metal bands yesterday. There was the New Horizon with Gates of the Gods, and then there was Lords of the Trident with the Offering, and this just not compared at all. Not compared at all.
My question to you, power metal fans, of which there's there's 4 of you here, and Will makes up probably for about 2.5. Is there not enough power metal? Like, has it not been done? In that, the reason I like Monuments and the Gent, it's totally new. There hasn't been a band, a genre like it. So there's only 3 or 4 bands doing it amazingly. Whereas power metal's been around since the 80s.
I think you're right to a degree. I think that power metal needs to create more of an atmosphere. It needs to create more of a story. I mean, this is quite like. I mean, for me, Lords of the Trident was probably the best power metal. Well, and not next to Sabaton. I couldn't give it a 5 because I didn't think it was as good as Sabaton. But in terms of its storytelling, I thought it was fabulous. And it has to have that in there. I think singing for the sake of singing that, Conan takes his sword and goes and chops up the whole army, just for the sake of putting a bit of metal to that. No, I think it has to. I think it needs to discover itself, and I think it's a really interesting genre, particularly for people like me who like to immerse themselves into those sort of storytelling culture. But they need to conjure up. It needs to conjure up. But it needs to be a combination. It needs to be a combination of a concept album, if you like, almost. But yeah.
Well, I think that's what made Sabaton interesting. Although clearly not my bag. They were singing about real events.
Yeah. Totally.
Like, I would love to hear a power metal album that is about growing up on an estate in London.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that would be such an interesting take on the genre. Instead, we're all just picking up our axes and we're off to fight, as you say, the Goblin King.
Yeah.
Which is,
I listen to so much power metal, and for me, it's, apart from there's a few that I listen to, most of them end up being, it is just the same sort of generic fantasy kind of stuff, and they all try and do something different to what everyone else is doing, but in doing that, all they're doing is becoming the same as each other. Yeah. It's not like, there's bands like Glory Hammer and ones like that who do something different by that. It's fantasy, but it's in space. Which, that makes it different and better for me. But
send that my way, mate, because I think that's what puts me up, is the sort of D&D Warhammer. Like, I feel like it's been done, and probably done to as good as it can possibly be done. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I thought it just because I missed the email where New Horizon was switched to yesterday, so I ended up reviewing that a couple of weeks back. And I found that I really enjoyed New Horizon, but I sensed there was a lot of influence from particularly Iron Maiden and that type of band, and that's very, very different to what Dreamtale brought out. It's the symphonic side of it that just sings and speaks on so many different levels that just doesn't tick other people's boxes. So, for me, in that symphonic side, there's enough variation within different artists, and I thought that Dreamtale exceeded Battle Beast, and I really loved Battle Beast, and I thought that Dreamtale was, for want of a better word, took an original take on something that, you're right, has been done a lot.
Cool. Well, let's find out what we all thought then. Will, let's share your ratings.
I can't go more than a 3, to be honest.
No, that's fine. And Ian?
So I've got 10 out of 5.
So golden ticket for Ian, 5 out of 5.
Golden ticket, yeah, golden
ticket for a 5 out of 5. Nathan?
This isn't just because you broke my toys, but 0.
0. Trish?
Second golden ticket. 5
out of 5. Wow, as well. We definitely split that one. I couldn't get past it. I couldn't get past the Goblin Kings. A 2 out of 5 for me. I maybe because I maybe got spoiled by.
Can I ask, when you're listening to power metal, Do you have it cranked up to 11?
Oh yeah, mate. I listen
Because that is when
I listen to it in the car. I listen to it. I listen to this about 3 or 4 times. But
the way you need to listen to all metal as loud as possible.
Yes,
Ian, you got here a little bit late, so I'm in Wales. So I'll tell you how I listened to it. I gave it the fairest chance I could possibly give it. I brought my leather trousers with me. I've got a flying V.
And he's up on a mountain.
Are you wearing the Panther?
There's someone here that's quite jealous about that.
Yeah, I bet there is. I've got a flying V strapped to the top of my van. You know what I mean? And I jumped down and I blasted it. Not even at 11. It was at 11 and a half. You know what I mean? Wow. And I was stood at the side of a mountain with my flies undone, so my balls were blowing in the breeze. and I was trying my best to do a solo, but the guitar broke in half. And God himself actually opened the clouds and said, "Fucking stop this."
Stop it right there.
That's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard.
So before we move on, just catch up Ian with Bone Driver and Valley of the Bones. What did you think of that before we forget? And
so Bone Driver
Valley
of Bones.
Yeah,
okay.
So they were our first submissions. So the other stage have also reviewed Bone Driver as well, but yeah.
So I liked it, but I was I think they're confused about who they are. There was so many different types of music coming at me. They had a beautiful type of heavy opener, apart from the screaming, but I did like the opener. Then you've got the sort of Poison-esque style. Seasons can change, change or something.
Which I thought was a bit more Bryan Adamsy, but you're right about Poison.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, that type of thing. 22. ZZ Top with "Live It Up" had a ZZ Top feel to it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, but I just was left confused, and I wish they'd thought, okay, we've got potentially 3 different types of album or 2 types of album here.
I think that was generally the course. So what was your rating? What was your rating for them, bud?
That was 2 out of 5. That one, 2. Just because I was so confused.
Okay. So the other stage did like this slightly better. So we're going to go with whatever stage given the best votes. But yeah, generally that was quite good. So we move swiftly on to Dare and Road to Eden. So Trish. Does Dare ring any bells for you? Had you heard of them previously, or were they something new? Because they've been around for some time.
I'd never heard of them
at
all. But I found it was a good mix of nicely up-tempo, melodic, and slow mid-paced ballad-style tracks with The Devil Rides Tonight and Thy Kingdom Come. They begin gently, some of the tracks, and then wind up as rockers. Melodies are well and truly under your skin, and the tracks shine out really strong for me. I really liked it.
Nate, how about this? Did Dare and Road to Eden? Because a lot of the videos are very much similar to where you're at now, and a lot of their songs is all about walking up through the mountains.
In it, right. Unfortunately, first of all, I'd just like to direct anyone who's listening, including you guys, if you can, open up Dare on Spotify, and if you can have a quick gander at the cover of Road to Eden, just tell me that's not Bilbo Baggins the cover band.
Yeah.
That is a bunch of hobbits. That is, and that's cool. I like a hobbit.
Just not goblins.
Just no goblins. Well, who likes goblins? You know what I mean? Nasty little.
Will does, and Ian does.
Will likes slaying goblins.
Yeah, but...
Will likes slaying goblins. Right, listen. I think this was quite nice for me in that it sort of. I think it's what Bone Dryer. I think they should listen to this. In that the chorus, there was a lift. They did take it somewhere else. Although it wasn't particularly for me, it's sort of country Route 66, that kind of rock. That's cool, really cool. Again, good driving. It stayed on, at least twice. It found its way back on.
That's good for you.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. I was driving. I couldn't change it, but like. I think there was that dynamic, even though it is it's sort of back to basics in a way. Like there's nothing particularly groundbreaking about any of it, but it is done well. And there is something to be said for that. Like the most important punch in boxing is the jab. Back to basics. You get a good jab, you're home and dry. And these guys know what they do, and they keep within that wheelhouse. And if you like it, you're gonna like it. You know what I mean? And you'll like it forever. I think I can see Matt liking this, and you know what I mean. Just that idea of walking down or up into the mountains, as you say. I didn't get that. I hadn't seen them because, as I said, I was in the van. So for me, it was all dust roads and walking down the highway with a guitar slung over your back. It's cool.
Will, did this do anything for you? Did this want to take you on that road to Eden?
If there's a cliff at the end of the road I could throw myself off, then sure. But
Yeah,
I got about halfway through, and I was incredibly bored by everything I was listening to. I don't know, it was something about his voice just really annoyed me. I couldn't get properly into it. There was, for me, like a distinct lack of energy in his vocals and voice, which, I mean, as if they've been around for a while, that, you know, could be quite telling as to why. But I
assume they were. I've heard of them before, but not really got into them. But yeah,
But
where's Paul when you need him to give you a full biography?
Where's my fact man?
Wait, to give you a full biography before
Where's
you.
the oracle?
You do that.
But no, it was.
Oh mate,
Oh my God,
I just gave my review for Thunder for Dare. Dare was horseshit.
Thank you.
Sorry, mate.
Are you being serious?
Yeah, that was.
Nate strikes again.
I made the mistake of I didn't write down any song names this time. I just tried to get a feeling. Yeah, I put the wrong thing there.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll edit out the bit
as soon as you heard me say
where he goes on about Thunder and Road to Eden was horseshit. There we go. In the words of Nate, it's horseshit. Ian, how about you? Horseshit or whatever?
Well, it's right in the middle. You know those pictures you get talking about the journeys and how this makes you feel the journey you're on. You know the pictures of like Arizona where you get the long road going towards the sort of like reddish brownish mountains at the end. That's how I felt on this. It was. I could definitely tell I was going somewhere, but where? On one.
Well, it's supposed to be the Road to Eden, mate.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't feel that that's where I was headed. I wasn't entirely. I knew I was going somewhere, but I wasn't sure where. There was a strong opening. That strings and guitar in the opening works really well. And from looking this up, the lead singer is ex-Thin Lizzy's lead singer. So
he's been dead a while, mate. That
so
would explain a lot, actually.
Huh?
Phil Lynot's been dead a while. That would explain a lot.
No, not sorry. The lead singer of this was in Thin Lizzy. Sorry, I said that wrong. Sorry. I think Darren something. And maybe of a former lineup, maybe not of the lineup they had at the end. And it didn't sound like Thin Lizzy, which is good. But it reminded me of, it wasn't prog rock, but it reminded me of Genesis, Floyd, that type of feeling. And not anywhere near the level of technical level or anything, but that's kind of, and it was just a melodic flow. And I had it on whilst I was sorting some bits out, and it was quite nice to have in the background, and I liked it, but it's not something I could sit down and actually listen to.
Yeah, I think
Nathan's about to kill you, to be honest.
Quite nice is how I describe it.
And you know what, mate? That's exactly what I've written. It's all a bit nice. It's just all a bit nice, and in one way, it was refreshing that it wasn't any way explicit. It felt honestly like they were a Christian rock band. You know, in a lot of ways, it was all about how wonderful it would be, relationships, walking up mountains, and it was all a bit boring, and it was all a bit nice. Musically, it was okay, but it wasn't something that I wanted to keep on listening to. It wasn't something I wanted to put on again. Yes, by the end of it, I was tempted to sing Hallelujah because it was over, and same with and maybe head for that cliff at the end of the road to Eden. So it was just all a bit nice, really, inoffensive.
In a sense, does it not remind you of the Eden Project? It's just, you know, sort of like a nice,
absolutely. No, I tell you why I didn't, because at least the Eden Project's got big giant balls, and this didn't have any. To be honest with you.
In fact, referring back to Nate's description earlier, if I was listening to this with my flies undone, I think I'd be more interested looking down, going, "Oh shit, they're undone."
Yeah. All right, let's go for our ratings then, Trish.
4 out of 5.
4. Okay. Nate.
1.
Will.
They found some instruments.
1.
1. In.
2.5.
Yeah,
just middle of the road.
Yeah, it was very middle of the road.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
I also give it. I
didn't love it.
Yeah, I always give it 2.5 as well. So we got 5, 6, 10,
How
11.
Did that got 2.5, and Monuments got. You saw nothing. Nothing in Monuments.
No, because at least I listened to their album at least a couple of times, so I could get through it, and it was. As I say, it was all right. It wasn't offensive. It was nice enough to listen to, but that was all. Anyway, that matched Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's saying something. That's how bad Red Hot Chili Peppers we thought were. Okay, we're moving on to Thunder. Now, listen here, Nate. This is Thunder. All right, just get it right. This is Thunder. And it's the album is called Dopamine. Now, this is the second time that we've reviewed Thunder. We reviewed an album, All the Right Noises, last month, but we saw them in concert last night at the O2 Arena. So we obviously have to start with Trish on this one, because we saw them in concert and they were fantastic. They were absolutely brilliant. But that we're not reviewing the show. We're reviewing the album Dopamine. Talk to me, Trish, about the album Dopamine and what you thought.
Okay, so Dopamine, not long after the release in 2021 of the highly acclaimed release All the Right Noises, now comes Dopamine. Quality has not diminished to make way for quantity, as once again a fine blend of out-and-out rockers like the lead single Western Sky, Black All the Way, as the always welcome Thunder ballads as well, especially for me, Is Anybody Out There. This album has many songs on it that will be crowd pleasers at gigs. It's well put together, peaking and troughing at the right times. It stays strong from start to finish and wanting to press the play button once again when it's finished. They have delivered yet again, and I did wonder how, when we saw them last night, they will fit some of these into an already hit-laden set list. Brilliant album.
Will, did Thunder crack the skies for you? No?
Not even remotely.
Really?
I didn't enjoy it. Again, I struggled to make it through the whole album again, because I was not finding any enjoyment listening to it. And I made the mistake of, while I was listening to it, looking how much left there was of the album.
Yeah.
It's just a bit long, isn't it?
It is a bit of a long album, if anything. But yeah.
It got to one, I think it was Big Pink Supermoon or something, where it somehow transitioned to a weird 1920s blues jazzy bar in America, and I did not enjoy that.
No.
And I gave up about there. It's not my kind of music.
An NMCT, mate. I call it the NMCT syndrome. Not my cup of tea, but there we go. Oh, that's a shame.
I didn't want to throw myself off a cliff, but you know, it was on
the cliff edge with there.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, that's a shame. Ian.
So where Bone Driver, I felt confused about the variety. Thunder, I wasn't. There was a lot of variety in that, and I didn't feel confused by it. I love the was Unraveling. That had a night of Pink Floyd again. That prog rock feel. Dancing in the Sunshine. I think that's totally written for festivals and gigs completely. So I don't know if they've got that. I think if anyone has any sort of interest in rock or metal of any degree, you'd have heard of Thunder. But they're not one of those bands that you go, that's that song. Like you think Guns N' Roses, you think Sweet Child of Mine, or Paradise City, or Welcome to the Jungle, something like that. But Thunder doesn't jump out like that. But I was really pleased to listen to this and listen to a bit of their other stuff as well during the journey. And I thought Big Pink Supermoon was reminiscent of Eric Gale's. I thought that was had a real Eric Gale's feel to it, or the same
Boy,
sort
I
of vibe.
hated it so much. It was conjuring up some dark memories for me.
And is there anybody out there? I agree with you, Trish. That was it's kind of like that piano opening. It's like, Up Where We Belong. That type of thing. Got that Hill Street Blues theme vibe to it. And I think, Nate, when you are looking off out of the window like you do that again now. Just watch for a bit. His hair gently blows. That is the perfect rock pose that goes with Is Anybody Out There? Definitely. I really enjoyed Dopamine. And I think because it wanted me to research Thunder more and find out more about them. I think that's as well.
So I feel a bit of deja vu about to come on here. Nate, what did you
think? This is the second time I'm going to review Thunder today. It would be great if I say something different. Right, Celine Dion. No, here we go. Yeah, I really liked it. I feel like the bands previously you should listen because that's how you write a chorus. They also, I really want to throw back, Nige, to something that me and you were saying last time we spoke about music when we were reviewing Feeder.
Yes.
And it took about 17 years for the album to start, even though it had already started 16 years ago.
Yeah.
The Western Sky, it's not particularly my kind of thing. However, that is an album opener.
Yeah.
They're like, hello, dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, they played that last night actually in concert.
They did.
Yeah.
You go, did they open with it?
No, they opened with last one out, Turn Out the Lights from their previous album.
No, fair enough. That makes sense too. Look, I agree with Ian. I've heard of Thunder. I've been despite my reviews on this podcast, I've been a rock fan just about all my life. And they've never had that track. They've just never had the mainstream breakthrough. I don't think it's on this album either. I think probably at this stage they're probably not going to get it. However, I liked the Big Pink Supermoon. I think that was cool. Yeah. It reminded me a little bit of sort of Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of bluesy, but with modern day production, which I'm not sure about. On the production, the guitars, they're a bit. I don't believe it. I quite often with this kind of thing, I want it to be like you played the whole song. I don't like punching in and punching out. So I got those 4 bars right. The next 4 bars weren't great. Everyone does that, but it shouldn't sound like that. And it was maybe just a wee bit too overproduced. However, the vocalist, I don't know his name. He might be Chris Cornell's ghost. I'm not sure. Or brilliant voice.
Very good.
Brilliant.
Live, he was fantastic.
Yeah.
He was absolutely brilliant. So,
he's clearly on the money. Not entirely for me, but enjoyable. Definitely enjoyable.
Yeah. I give All the Right Noises a 4 last time they played, and there was a couple of tracks that had that influence of country, kind of not country and western, but country rock. And I think he had that voice that actually accentuated that sort of genre. And I said then I would like more country rock to be on, for them to bring out a band, and they delivered that without over delivering it. I think they had more that sort of country rock kind of blend with classic rock put in there, and it worked, and it really ticked my boxes. And I like the switch up play with that kind of like, what the hell, and they did it really well. If you're going to change kind of genres of it, you've got to do it well, and they did it well. So that kind of more jazzy was good fun, and they varied it up. I think my only criticism, Will, and I agree with you, was it was too long. 16 tracks for me. It was too long an album. Really, it didn't need to be 16 tracks. I think a really really good album these days is between 10, 11 or 12 tracks at most. So 16 tracks was a bit long because it was of a very similar style. You start to switch off a little bit. But I really enjoyed the album. I think it was absolutely terrific, and I saw them and they were absolutely terrific live. For me, they've got live. I mean, Trish enjoyed it more than I did. I thought it was fantastic, and she absolutely loved it. But only because when you go to a gig, you either go to a gig completely open because you want and you want to discover the band, or you enjoy the music so much that you can join in. And they've got such a back catalogue of music. There were some tracks that I hadn't heard of before. I enjoyed the music, but I couldn't immerse myself fully into them. But when they played Western Sky and then they did a few other tracks I did recognise, I thought it was amazing. But there we go. Was Dopamine a bit of a drug for us? Let's find out then. So Trish.
5 out of 5.
Oh, golden buzzer! What a shock!
What a shock!
What a shock! What a shock! Nathan.
Yeah, 3.5.
3.5. Okay, that's pretty good. Will. 2. And Ian.
I got 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Okay, I give it a 4.5 out of 5. It wasn't a perfect album because it was just too long, but it was pretty good. Wow. Okay, hold on. Let's quickly do a chat up here, guys. 8.5, 12.5, 14.5, 15, 19. Didn't quite make the Hall of Fame, but certainly we'll go right up there. So we go to Fozzy and BoomBox. Now, we had Fozzy down for an April release, and they got delayed a few days, but we'd already committed, so it ended up being released in May. But it's now in here. So, Ian, let's start. We haven't started with you yet, because, hey, you arrived late. But now you're in the groove. What about Fozzy and BoomBox? Did it hit your boombox?
This one absolutely did. And not just because of the music.
Oh my God.
And you're going to love this, Nate. If you didn't like that comment, this is just probably going to make you jump off that mountain. I've loved wrestling, or I've really got into wrestling around about 2007. And then sort of just drifted away from it around 2012. I had no idea Chris Jericho, who is a WWE wrestler, is in a band, and it is Fozzy. Okay. I had no idea at all. Chris Jericho, the wrestler, Chris Jericho, the Fozzy singer, doesn't recognise Chris Jericho, the wrestler, at all. Chris Jericho, the wrestler, loves Chris Jericho, the Fozzy singer. So when I found that, my interest just hooked even more, and I just loved the album. It was like that brilliant between rock and metal. If you get a Venn diagram of the two, where they intersect, that's where Fozzy sits, I think. And I really. I don't like doing this, but I'm going to actually highlight a cover that they did just to show how good they are, and that's Relaxed. God. What a cover version that is. And I think if you produce a good cover version, that shows your ability, I think. Nothing shows it more than your original song, 100%. But that album, that and the Dream Tale, they've made my my normal playlists as well. So absolutely love this album. But few too many covers on it, but I love the album.
Nate, bit of BoomBox.
I think
you can say it.
I'm so disappointed in you, man. It's not real, is it? It's about as real as wrestling.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Good analogy about wrestling.
Yeah.
It's about as real as wrestling. I am a wrestling fan and have been much longer than you. It sounds like it, which surprises me. I like Chris Jericho. the sad thing about Chris Jericho is he thinks his wrestling career and his music career are comparable. They fucking ain't. He is a. This was years ago. I can't even remember which band it was, but Fozzy were playing the weekend after my band at Southampton Joiners, something like that, and we'd sold more tickets than them, and it was a week to go, and there's a reason. They're dog shit, and they're great in the studio, but that's because it's not real. There's not a single moment of that record that's real. I like the Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Yeah, it's fine. It's great. Do I prefer? No, I was going to lie. No, I don't prefer it. But it's fine, and like it's quite good fun. But it's not. It's all of it is pitch shifted and auto tuned, and Jericho can't sing like that. Yeah. He can't. He's never been able to. The guitarists are overproduced. The drums are boring and probably programmed. If they're not programmed, everything's been sampled to death and then recreated on a keyboard. If you guys are rock fans, you need soul in it. It should make you feel it. And maybe it's just because I know a little bit too much.
Oh, I think you're right.
I think ACM, I've long said this, music school kills you. It kills your love of music. And so I just hear all the edits and I'm like, please stop. However, love Jericho, 50, still great in the ring. Keep going, lad.
There was a note I couldn't read that I didn't say, and it was...
I just said everything Nate says, like I agree. I'll tell you what they sound like live, mate, because I did a little bit of research. They sound exactly like that because Jericho's lip syncing.
Fair. Right.
Fair enough. Yeah, probably.
He doesn't even do it live, and that's fine.
Will, how did you wrestle with this, Will? I thought it was a cracking segue, people. That was a cracker.
Oh, smooth. Oh, you mashed that, didn't you?
Oh, lovely.
As an album, I didn't like it as an album because there wasn't enough in it that was good that I could actually resonate. I thought Sane was an enjoyable intro to it, but it gave me too high expectations because it started with really heavy instrumentals, and I thought, the whole album's gonna be like this. It wasn't, and it kind of let me down. But no, also the album cover gave me false hope because you look at an album cover where it's BoomBox on fire in the middle of a street. You think it's going to be some edgy kind of heavy, cool sound and stuff. It wasn't. It was kind of average. As an album, I thought it was pretty sad, but if you took a few of the, it just made me a bit upset, to be honest. Like, if they'd just taken a couple of them out, released some just as singles, it would have been fine. But
you do sound upset.
It really let me down.
I almost kind of fear that this podcast is almost torture for Will, intermingled with an injection of a high fuel drugs.
You look at the album cover and hear that first song, and you think it's going to be so much more than it is, and it's just a massive letdown.
Yeah. Did you? Because I thought it was someone's first crack at Photoshop.
Oh, with all the cheesy power metal I listen to, that's nothing compared to most of the shitty little album covers I see.
Trish, I thought I'd save. I kind of had a feeling that this might be go, so I thought I'd save the best to last, really, because I'm feeling that this will be your cup of tea. Am I wrong? Did you love a little bit of Fozzy and a little bit of BoomBox?
Oh God, I don't know if I can do my review because Nate's going to kill me. You're all going to crucify me.
No, don't be silly. You are. We're all different. That's what makes this panel work. That we're all so different.
It's all subjective, mate, and millions of people are going to agree with you. They're like, music is subjective.
All the good people will agree with you, Trish. Don't worry.
The ones with their flies down will disagree.
Oh,
wow.
Okay. The opener saying scratches the surface to tempt you in. and then Purifier with the heavy catchy riffs really grabbed me. Fozzy's version of Relax was nearly identical to the 80s version. Covers are much more interesting when a band puts their own spin on it, and I don't feel they did with that. But this definitely appealed to my love of rock, hard rock metal with lots of excellent songs. It's a keeper for me, and I don't give a shit that I'm stuck in the 80s.
Hey, no, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't
Absolutely.
be. What did I think of BoomBox? I thought it was an entertaining album. I mean, if it's manufactured, it manufactured to my tastes, because I quite liked it. However, I will say I totally disagree with Ian. Relax was a total and utter load of bollocks. It really, if you can't do in an album, it should be all your original stuff, not some parody of Relax. It was terrible. It was an exact copy of Relax and should be ripped up, scrapped, put in the bin. I hate covers like this. If you're going to do a cover, do something completely original and different with it, not actually just parry it, which is what they did. It was a simple parody. If I want to listen to Relax in that way, I'll listen to the original. It was awful. Hated it. I hate covers with a passion, and I hated that, and it almost ruined the album with me. Luckily for me, the rest of the album was pretty good and pretty solid, and definitely something I want to listen to again. But don't, for God's sake, people, don't put a cover in. What's the point? It's just pointless. It's just an ego trip. It's just just something you want to do, and it scratches your itch. But it does nothing for me. There's much better versions out there. Just hate people who do that. Hate it. But there we go. So
I wonder. Sorry,
go for it.
I wonder if that was a wee bit of a PR move.
Oh,
because of late,
probably.
During the Trump administration, Chris Jericho said some interesting things on Twitter, and I wonder if he would maybe wanted to do a power song of some left-leaning, very overtly be yourself, be out, camp and wild. I wonder if by doing that it's a sort of a bit of a make good. I don't know, but I did wonder.
Yeah.
All right.
I think also if you've got a showman like Chris Jericho fronting your band, and clearly it is an arranged album, and I love the sound that came out. I really enjoyed it. But the question about what would it sound like, what would they be like live? It's interesting to know the rubbish, and I think that type of cover fits in perfectly with that genre. I've got a feeling you're not keen on covers, so I think.
I did agree though.
He alluded to that, didn't he? I got that hint.
Got a hint, yeah.
Go on, sorry, Trish.
No, I was just going to say, I agreed with you that if you're going to do it, the band needs to put their own spin on a cover rather than it being identical.
I agree. I thought they did. No. Yes, it was very close.
Yeah, everyone
generic
looks at things differently.
Generic shit.
I've always thought that.
It's incredible, Nigel, because a lot of the bands you like sound like pub cover bands.
Yeah, but at least it's their own original words and their own original music. They might sound similar, but I tell you what, I think I've been studying what I like. I like my classic rock music, but I like it with a more modern twist to it, a lot more, to bring it fresher up. So, but anyway, okay, let's get our ratings then. Ian.
So this, I gave them a 4 out of 5. This obviously not a 5 because it is a manufactured thing, but I thoroughly enjoyed what came out.
Cool. Will?
1.5. It made me sad.
And Nathan?
Yeah, exactly the same as well. 1.5. Although it didn't make me that sad, it put a big old smile on my face. And I was like, "Oh, Jericho, you silly goose."
Trish?
5 out of 5.
5 out of 5. It's a third golden buzzer. Woo-hoo-hoo. It would have got a 4.5 for me, but that cover ruined it, so it only got a 3.5 for me. So, but I did enjoy the album overall. Just but I reviewed. I've got to enjoy the album, and it just wasn't a keeper. So 6.5, 10.5. 11, 12, 15.5. It's not bad. It's a really solid score, though. 15.5. Pretty solid. So.
Was it Fozzy as well that did the UGLY You Ain't Got No Alibi on it?
I don't know, mate.
I don't know.
I think it was on the Fozzy album as well, and that harks back to Daphne and Celeste, the ones that got booed off at Glastonbury. With that, as kind of a cover, but it wasn't.
So we are now moving on to a different classic kind of rock band from the 90s, Bloc Party. So they're back with their new album Alpha Games. One of the people who introduced me to Bloc Party was Nate, so we're going to start with you, Nate. Was this a welcome return or not for you for Bloc Party and Alpha Games?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, but it sort of lacked that crowning moment of the first two albums, certainly the first album. By the way, I think Helicopter was you. I think you put Helicopter in.
Yeah. Oh, what, in the song contest?
Yeah.
Wow. I can neither confirm or deny.
No, but I can see your face. So anyway. This is a video. I didn't know it. Do you know this is on video? I really liked it. I like the new drummer, who probably isn't new anymore, but she is unbelievable. And that was always my worry with Bloc Party, because their original drummer was the absolute nuts. Their rhythm section was fantastic, and they've definitely got that in the two new members of the band as well. It reminded me a lot of the earlier stuff, which I like. They're a massive influence on me, and the sort of scrappy guitars. Russell, the lead guitarist, huge influence on me. Introduced me to sort of effect pedals and stuff like that. And mixing what is essentially, good old fashioned indie with almost drum and bass vibes in places. They are still the most original indie band of the last 20 years. You did age them a bit, Nigel, but I'll let you off. But
they were 90s, weren't they? They late 90s?
But their first album was 2004, lad.
Okay.
What you did?
Well, late 90s. Give or take a few years, but here we go.
Yeah, okay, we can call that the late 90s. It's the really late 90s. Yeah.
Late 90s.
Late 90s. But I always liked the fact that they didn't do... we talked about this before, Nigel. They didn't just do the obvious where the guitars are always leading the dance. The rhythm section is leading the dance, and it's quirkier. Keely's voice is awesome. I still like his lyrical content. It's been interesting to see how he's gone from a sort of a young man discovering his sexuality and stuff like that. Now he's a father, and the different takes on that, but still with a very distinct London vibe. Really good, man. Good times for all.
Cool. Trish.
Sorry, excuse me. I've seen Bloc Party live, and they're absolutely brilliant. I've listened to some of Bloc Party's previous albums, but they didn't really grab me, and their albums weren't ones that I would think, oh, I'll listen to that. I'm in a Bloc Party mood. So I was a bit cautious going into listening to Alpha Games. I shouldn't have been. The opener, Day Drinker, had me from the get-go. The songs all flowed well into one another. Traps has all the energy of 2007's Flux. The Girls Are Fighting, a story about a girls' night out gone wrong. My favourite track was Sex Magic, a joyful anthem. This album has surprised me and changed my view of Bloc Party. This album is definitely a keeper, a brilliant indie rock disco album.
Okay.
Still making new fans.
I'll tell you what, yeah. Ian.
I can't echo this. I've literally it was too much punk for me, too much like punk. And punk isn't my thing.
Ian's
I know that a lot
for wrong band.
Sorry,
I know that a lot of punk music has a lot of important messages in it, and I don't know whether that's the case because I just couldn't get into this at all. And this is the first album that I've just had to just go skip. No, just skip a little bit along the track. Are there any hooks, anything that I can come across that I like? And I just couldn't find anything. For me, this album was awful.
Will.
So we all know my opinion on indie music.
More torture for William. I love it.
But for me, at least, I was listening to it, and normally I just can't stand it at all, but they clearly know what they're doing. So that was a welcoming. It wasn't just, oh, we're a small indie band from, the south of London. Oh, we're going to just play some noise and hope it works. They know what they're doing. Like, I'm sure if it's your kind of thing, I can see why someone would think it is a fantastic album. But for me, it's not my music. If it was punky stuff, oh, that'd be great. But I can't stand indie, I'm afraid.
I'm not sure if it was punk, to be honest with you. Not in my world. I don't think it's punk. I think
That's
it's
probably just my misunderstanding.
I
of the
think we
genres.
should all agree to ignore Ian.
Wow.
That never happens.
All right, I'm up for that.
I think it was very. What I loved about, because I like that kind of Franz Ferdinand, that sort of really early 2000, late 90s sort of genre, and their first album was full of that, and I can see were they before Franz Ferdinand or after?
I mean, it was basically the same. I think
But
there
the
might be
same.
a year either way.
Yeah, because one of them was influenced on that, and that first album that you got me guys interested in when we kind of reviewed it, and it was Helicopter Luno. I just loved that album. It was full on bang 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 bang, and the first couple of tracks of this album, I'm going yes, all right, it's that similar vibe. And then it just drifted away to some prog rock shit, really, to be honest with you. It just drifted and carried on drifting and just drifted away. And it was an album of not even two halves. It was an album of one great third of an album, and the rest of it was just didn't really get to me at all. I don't particularly like that prog rock kind of feel, and it just grew to nothingness, really. And that was a shame. There were, as I say, as an album, there were some good tracks in there, and I loved that vibe. And I think for me, maybe my expectations were too high because that's what I was hoping for. Sure. And as a band, you can't keep into that trap. You have to experiment. You have to look at different ways of developing your music and your path. And I kind of get that as well. But it's a journey that I really didn't want to go on. If I'm honest, it just didn't really tick my boxes. It was okay as an album because there were some great tracks in there. But for me, as an entirety, it didn't really kind of tick my boxes. But I like what Will just said. I can understand if people like that sort of stuff. I think it would be kind of really good. So, but
what's interesting, Nige, is you've given the famous sort of synopsis of a Bloc Party fan.
Yeah, right.
Bloc Party always seem to be like when they're doing, what they do essentially off first album, so they are killing it. But they've always seemed to want to be a band that want to push their limitations and their barriers, and their fans don't fucking want them to. Fans. No. We love Helicopter. Just do that.
Do that style of music, and I get it. And you can't really, you could, but you'd have to bring an album every 5 or 6 years to kind of refresh it.
I feel like they should start a side project. I know Keeley went and did his own thing for a bit, but they should start a side project. Go, all right, we'll do all the experimentation shit over here, and then we'll just be straight balls for wall indie for Bloc Party.
Because they do it really well. And I compare the Franz Ferdinand album with that initial album, and if I'd got to Bloc Party first before Franz Ferdinand, I think Bloc Party would have blown Franz Ferdinand out of the water. But okay, so let's what we think. So Nate, what did you give it?
3.5. Right in the middle.
Trish?
4.5 out of 5.
4.5. Okay.
Right in the middle.
Ian?
Trish middle.
Up to now, I haven't understood why people give a 0 to stuff. But
oh my god!
I get it now. It really just isn't my thing.
No,
it's nothing against them. It just really isn't my thing. So it's a norm.
Mate,
as yourself a 0.
I know. So it's 0. As we said at the beginning of the show, we caveat that this is not a review or award points on basically how technical or commercial the album is. This is our own personal view of that album and how much we as a person enjoy them. So you're more than welcome to give a 0, you wanker.
Hold on. I get loads of 0s at stuff. Well, not on me.
I'm joking.
And there's not mention of a wanker at that.
Will.
1.5.
1.5. I give it a 2.5. So, okay. So, our headline act, Papa Roach. Will we finally have a headline act that will be a headline act and not some trash that we all hate? Will, I'm going to start with you.
Hello.
On Papa Roach. Talk to me about Ego Trip. Did this make you have your own ego trip, my friend?
I unironically actually enjoy quite a lot of Papa Roach songs. As shocking as that sounds, the guy who likes the edgy emo songs likes the edgy emo band. I thought it had a good mix of kind of sounds. Like I wasn't listening and thinking, oh, this is just the same as the last song. Oh, this album's just the same kind of thing. The opening song, Kill the Noise, I've been listening to like for months since it came out as a single. And feel free to shoot me if I'm completely wrong, but it sounds quite a lot like the sort of new Bring Me the Horizon stuff. And I fucking love Bring Me the Horizon. They're fantastic. So anything that makes me think of them is a win instantly. It's Papa Roach in it. It doesn't really sound anything. It's nothing different for them, which for me that's a good thing. It's hilarious. I love them. They're
Cool.
great.
Ian.
So yeah, I was just having a look at what the previous album that I first came across Papa Roach, and it was either Fear or Time for Annihilation, and I can't remember which album it was, but I really enjoyed it. Those albums. So this I was really hoping for the same, and didn't quite get it. I liked what I heard, like Unglued, Dying to Believe. I mean, the intro on Dying to Believe, and the vocal and acoustic guitar together, both on both those tracks, was beautiful. And that slower pace with Leave a Light On. Again, the vocals and the harmony I really liked, but I couldn't do anything more than just like this album. Probably wouldn't listen to it again. Maybe pick one or two tracks from it, but not a bad album in any stretch. I just couldn't do more than just like it.
Nate, Papa Roach, your cup of tea?
No, not at all. This presented me with a real moral dilemma, because I think Papa Roach are reprehensible, mainly because of making a song that helped popularise self-harming back in the day. Even if that wasn't the intention, that's what it did. So I genuinely struggle to listen to this, because I think it's morally not a good thing to give them any more airtime than they should get. Putting that aside, the danger for me in this is that I could quite like it if I allowed myself to, because it is cheesy emo bollocks, and the thing about cheesy emo bollocks is it's very simple. Nearly every song's the same. The verses are easy to pick up and the choruses get stuck in your head. But in that regard, what are you adding? They don't say anything that's not been said. They certainly don't push any boundaries musically. It's the same album they've been making for probably close to 20 years, if not that. It's fine, overproduced emo bollocks in 2022 by people that should have been told to stop long ago, and if not, slapped very hard.
Oh. Trish,
silence.
Trish, on that note, will you lift us up? Will you go on an ego trip?
Oh, Nige.
No. The start with Kill the Noise and the guitar riffs I thought was promising, but with Stand Up, the lyrics, all I heard was blah 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 blah. Rock rap crap The only saving grace was Upbeat Liar. And as the title of the album says, I think they are on an ego trip, which I am not going to massage for them.
Wow.
I like that. That's poetic.
Well, I fucking loved this album.
Yeah, of course you did.
I just,
Thanks.
Of course you did.
well,
You're
let me
such a
actually let me
contrarian.
come out. The first half, I go with that. There was some emo kind of crap in there, and there was a bit of rap in there. And if I was to give a review for the first half of it, or maybe first 40% of it, I'll go, yeah, it was all right. There was some interesting stuff in there. The second half of the album was more my taste, which was very, very kind of classic rock. And there was, Ego Trip, Leave the Light On, Always Wandering. Hit my playlist. I loved them. I absolutely loved those 3 tracks. I mean, they are just glorious kind of, that kind of, we were talking earlier about having classic rock, but having it more kind of, maybe better produced, better manufactured. I don't give a shit. I'd never heard any of Papa Roach's previous albums, so this was all kind of new to me. I'd never listened to them before, so this is the first actual album I've listened to them. So I knew nothing about any kind of whether they were taken wrong. So I've had no preconceptions whatsoever. And as I say, first half of the album, it was all right, a bit different. Second half of the album was some of the best kind of more kind of 20s kind of classic rock kind of feel that I've heard all year. And there was some really unbelievable tracks I thoroughly enjoyed. I thoroughly enjoyed the second half of the album. I loved the sound, I loved the vocals, loved it all. I thought it was an absolutely terrific second half of the album. Really, really good, really fun. And I just wish the rest of the album was similar to the first. But I appreciated, I think they varied up their different styles. They did a bit of rap kind of rock, and they did it well, and they produced it well. And they did a bit of, and there was also a little bit of screamo in there as well, which accentuated some of the music that they kind of did. So I think they tried and hit various different kind of rock sounds in there, and I thought they did them quite well. Some of it wasn't quite my cup of tea, but I still reasonably enjoyed it. It was okay, it was listenable too. But yeah, I thought this was a really enjoyable, good album for me anyway. So but there we go. So well, looks like another headline act which is not going to hit the headlines, but they did for me, which is a kind of a nice change for headline acts. But okay, let's crack on then. Will.
4.
Okay, I was expecting less than that, but that's good. Okay, Ian.
I just had a thought. It just sounds like modern Papa Roach parodying classic Papa Roach. That's what this album was.
Yeah. Well, maybe I don't know. Ian.
I wasn't aware what Nate said about what effect their music had, whether unintentional or not.
But that's his interpretation, though, mate. That's Nate's interpretation of that moment.
Yeah. But Nate's normally quite well researched these sort of things. So I was going to give it a 3, but I'm going to put it down to 2.
Wow. Based on what Nate's told you? That's bollocks,
based
mate.
on my opinion,
that's
on
bollocks.
What I found out about the band.
That's bollocks. You're just taking what Nate's put. That's bollocks. Sorry. But
I mean, to be fair, you listen to the opening line of Last Resort, and it's not really subtle.
So, Will, have you heard them about promoting self-harm?
It's the opening line of their song Last Resort is "Cut my life into pieces. This is my last resort. Suffocation, no breathing. Don't give a fuck if I cut my arm bleeding." It's the opening of their most iconic song. And if you didn't know that's what the song was about, then
wow.
Yeah,
I mean, it's quite hard to miss.
Well, the whole point about this podcast is it's our own personal opinions. Whether we, and I can vocalise the fact that I think it's a lot of bollocks. However, I respect your lot of bollocks by putting it down to 2. I mean, that's just your prerogative. But yeah.
No. It's something that I would go off and have a look at myself. But I don't have the time to do that now. And
also, I would say
I didn't realise that song was Papa Roach, to be honest. So
people have talked my grades up before, Nige. I just have, because they've made a good point. I haven't. I just haven't.
No. I agree, but I can disagree. It's my prerogative to disagree. Just as it's his prerogative to drop the points down. It's just like that's what we're all human, so we can agree and disagree. So, but yeah. Anyway, Nathan.
1.
And that's based on your rather than the actual album, but based on their...
No, that's based on the album, mate.
Okay, Trish?
Genuinely.
Big fat zero.
0?
I hated it.
Wow.
Good lord.
Wow.
I know it's the first time
I fancy
I've ever
upgrading
given
it. Well, in that case, I'm going to upgrade it to a 5 based on people's opinions. I was going to give it a 4. I'm going to give it a fucking 5 because I genuinely, that's... I rubs you back. No, I won't do that. I'll give it. I wrote down a 4. I wrote down a 4. I will stick to.
Blighter.
Well, I'm not going to. I'm going to give my opinion based on what I thought of the actual album itself, which I'd written down a 4. I thought I enjoyed it. It was a 4. So another headline act that well, actually not as bad as Red Hot Chili Peppers. It got
That's insane, by the way.
No,
That's
it got the
mental.
same as Red Hot Chili Peppers actually. So it got exactly the same as the Red Hot Chili's on the previous stage. So there we go. So cool. Well, what a show of controversy, of debate, of anger, of angst, of frustration, but of torture for Will and everything else. What another great show do we have? And oddly, so Thunder got our best ratings for this particular stage. However, Reef on the previous stage got our album of the month, but no albums reached the hallowed grounds of the Hall of Fame. But some albums did really, really well. So thank you guys for joining us. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you come back for more. We have an exciting, action-packed concert for June, which is all the releases, including the likes of Def Leppard and other great bands for the next concert. Thank you very much for joining. Ian, thanks for getting here. I know, mate, we don't blame you. I know obviously life gets in the way, but thanks for rushing back and getting to us. Kind of miss Slasher, but there we go. Maybe we should.
I've definitely got to say that this is a rock podcast, so I can't not say that my next gig I'm going to is on the 12th of June, and it's Queen and Adam Lambert at Birmingham.
You'll have an amazing time.
Cannot wait. Yeah.
No, we and Trish are off to see Greta Van Fleet next month as well. We were due to see obviously Foo Fighters, but sadly that's not going to happen. Are you seen any? Will or Nate? You seen any gigs in the next month?
Not next month, but I've got a few lined up for this year.
Yeah, on that way too. I just found out Coheed and Cambria are going to be on tour with Thrice.
Yes, I heard that on Planet Rock.
Yeah, I'm big into that, and I'm going to see Sixth.
Oh yes, you mentioned.
Excellent.
Coheed and Cambria will be on the next stage. So, but there we go. So anyway, yes, you're right. I hope you enjoyed Queen and Lambert. I'm jealous, Ian. Definitely jealous on that one. So, and me and Trish have just got to give a little shout out to a bunch of guys that we met at Thunder with Jules and his mate, who are absolutely hilarious. And all we're going to say to Jules and his mate is, "Sit down."
Sit down.
All right. Anyway, have a great guys. We'll see you next month.